Welcome back to the Human First CEO series on LinkedIn Live. I'm Nick Maida, CEO of Gainsight, and I've had an absolute joy this year getting a chance to interview CEOs that I respect and admire to talk about how they think about leadership from all stakeholders' perspectives. So how they think about leading their teams, their community, their customers, and thinking of all of it from a human first perspective. So today, I'm thrilled to be joined by Frank Calderoni, CEO of Anaplan. Welcome, Frank.
Nice to be here, Nick. Thanks for inviting me.
Frank is a very longtime business leader that's actually had an incredible career. If you look him up on LinkedIn, was CFO at Cisco and Red Hat and several other companies before that, but has been running Anaplan for about 4 years now. And everything I've heard about the way he runs Anaplan it truly models this kind of concept of human first that we talk about. But first, before we talk about human first leadership, let's talk about you as a human being. Where are you right now, Frank, geographically?
I'm in the Bay Area in Los Altos.
Los Altos, and
we're down here for 9 months.
Exactly right. So, what are you excited to do post vaccine? What's the thing that you're going to go do when this is all over?
So, I guess the biggest change for me has been just not traveling. Right, I haven't been on a plane since my last trip was back in February. So, and I'm from New York. My mother just celebrated her 90th birthday last month.
Oh, congratulations!
And we had a Zoom birthday party for her, kind of coming in from all different parts of the country. So I guess a trip to New York with my family, see grandma, say happy birthday in person, and maybe all go see a Broadway show, I guess. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Seeing your mom, that's the best answer of all. And Broadway show, I'm a huge Broadway fan, so maybe we can go to one together. It's great to have you here. And as we do every week, we like to talk about the different stakeholders you think about in running your business and how you embrace each of them from a human first perspective. Many of you probably follow Anaplan, great technology provider, actually amazing business, financially performed really well. But we're going to talk about kind of the human side of the business. We're going to start with the community. This is the year more than any other where every company had to realize we're part of a much bigger ecosystem. You've known that for a long time, but I'm sure you embraced it even more this year. So talk a little bit about what Anaplan was doing pre-2020 around sort of the role in the community and maybe anything new that came up this year.
So, community is really important for us. It's a big part of our culture and our values. And wherever we can kind of give back to the community, I think is important. I think what I would call out as far as most special for Anaplan, and I would say the team that we have within Anaplan, and this goes back to some of the early days of COVID. One of the things that we tried to do is just, first of all, show empathy to our customers and our partners. And with all the sudden change that was going on and everything just kind of turning upside down, we developed a program, and this came from our team itself, called Anaplan Helps. And really what we tried to do, and I would say I think we were pretty successful at that, is offer our subscription with a 90-day free trial to companies that were doing things on behalf of COVID. As far as things were changing rapidly around even just getting PPE equipment out to everyone as appropriate. We did something in the New York, New Jersey area on that. We developed applications with governments around doing the planning for distribution of PPE. We did a lot of other applications where hospitals were trying to do staffing of their workers because people were working around the clock and trying to have people the right skill at the right time, having the Anaplan application to be able to kind of bring that all together. So we developed this program, and then we kind of engaged partners like Deloitte, who started to jump in, and we developed quite a few of these free app solutions that we made available to various organizations, and that brought about a good amount of change. The other thing that we did is we did a hackathon, both within Anaplan and also within our Anaplan, Master Anaplan community among our customers. And we encouraged the skilled people to develop certain applications that we then brought into the part of this Anaplan program, which I thought.
Hey, Frank, so sorry about the technical difficulties. So we were talking about community, and actually I'm really inspired by how you found ways to use your technology to actually help kind of in this time. And actually, it makes total sense because planning is probably really complicated right now for everyone given kind of COVID-19. So that resonates. One of the things I've seen CEOs wrestle with a lot is when to kind of have their own personal opinions drive how a company uses its voice and its money versus when letting the employees kind of decide? And how do you balance that? So when you think about your charitable giving and your places you take a stand, how do you navigate that decision of your personal opinion versus the employees?
So one of the values that we have is just kind of inclusive and being collaborative. So, you know, one side you can say it's a bit challenging. I'll just take just some of the giving as an example. There's just so many dollars you have to give, right? And there's so many different needs. What we did in a plan is we kind of had a bit of a contest, and we had individuals within Anaplan come forward with their recommendations. And then we formed like a small group. I was part of that group, looking at the different requirements that came in. And then we decided to kind of invest in a couple of different charities. You know, JDRF was one of them. It came from our team in San Francisco. And the beauty about that is that it became global. We started to participate in JDRF in San Francisco, and then they have different chapters around the world. So we had a lot of the groups around the world in London, in New York, in Boston, in Paris kind of join in. It became more of a global event. But we do it that way. We try to be as inclusive as we can, because we find that we get some great ideas, and then we step back and look at, you know, what are some of the best uses of some of the funds that we have as far as giving back, and we do that with some of the programs that we get involved in as well. That's awesome. And how does that translate to when Anaplan takes a stand on things, you know, in terms of using your voice and your, you know, Twitter account and your personal communications versus sort of letting, you know, that stuff kind of society figure that out? Because I think we're all trying to navigate that too, when we take a stand versus not. How do you think about that? So, well, first, I would say a couple of comments I'd make around that. I think, especially this year, we all saw this firsthand, that of the past where companies just said, okay, let me just focus on what I do as a business, right, and let everything outside society kind of take care of itself. I think that's really kind of changed a lot. And I think employees expect their organizations that they're part of to start to take stands on things that affect the community and society. And so one of the ways that we've used that is with the employee resource groups that we've established on different topics. We just recently did one on Black Lives Matter that we started back in the spring, where we bring employees front and center as far as, okay, what's important around Black lives, where can we make a difference, what are some of the issues we want to take stands on, and that's really helped. And we've done that on various other groups as well. That's excellent. Yeah, and it's great coming from you too, because, you know, as you said, the older model was, hey, just focus on the bottom line. Everything else, that's a distraction, right? And you were a CFO for a long time, which arguably is often a role that's focused on the bottom line, right? Yeah, I think that's really interesting. Well, it's a good segue to switch to the team then, because I do know a lot of people that work at Anaplan. Obviously, you're a Gainsight customer. We appreciate that, and I've seen the culture that you have, the culture that was there even before you got there, and then how it's kind of taken to the next level. Let's talk about your values first. I actually saw a video about your values, and I was very inspired. Talk about the values of Anaplan. So I would put the values in two. First, the values that, and again, we've developed these values from a collaborative event. Actually, when I first joined Anaplan about 4 years ago, we were thinking about, okay, what do we need to change some of the values? And we opened it up, and we had various people volunteer to have a say. It was interesting. We had 67% of the company volunteer in providing input on the values. I felt that was a really strong endorsement. That is great. As far as how people felt about that. And from that, we came up with 6 values: open, authentic, inclusive, collaborative, creative, and tenacious. Tenacious we've added about 2 years ago. And around that, we felt that let's try to describe what Anaplan shaped people. We called it A-shaped people. Some of the 4 behaviors that we felt important. First is start with the customer. Second is think big and act bold. Third, win with speed and innovation. And then fourth is act like an owner. And I think, you know, I can talk about each of those, but really what we're trying to do is have the employees within Anaplan be a big part of what we do, how we do on behalf of customers, on behalf of the company and how we operate the company, act like an owner, and then also from the standpoint of what makes it special and fun to really be part of Anaplan. And so we do things around the culture and around the values.
That is really awesome. And it sounds like you came in and said, I want to help define what the values are, but I'm not going to come in and tell people what the values are. I want to actually have it kind of bubble up from the company. Is that right?
We do, and we do things ongoing to make sure, we call it Anaplan Love, living out values every day. Mm-hmm. We do different things, whether it's contests, whether it's different events. Like we just had our annual contest around Anaplan Love, where around the world, people get nominated for each one of the values I mentioned before, for things that they've done to exhibit characteristics or behaviors that model that value. And then we vote on it as a company, and we acknowledge the success, which I think is important. So it's not just values that are put on the wall or in a handbook. There are things that we do on an ongoing basis and try to encourage that.
Well, I can tell you really think about this a lot. So let me click into two things that you said. One was you had this moment where you created that, I think it was sixth value, the extra value, a few years later. Talk about what the catalyst was for that and why you decided to evolve your values.
Well, the key thing with Tenacious is just we felt if we look at our values, we needed something that most Anaplans were showing kind of an assertiveness.
Sorry for the tech issues. I think there's some Wi-Fi or internet issue that's causing us to start and stop. So I really found the other thing that you said that was interesting, Frank, was behaviors. So values versus behaviors. What's the difference between the two?
I would. So the values are things that we, that we hold out as far as what we think are important for a great culture. The behaviors is how we leverage those values. Like the behaviors I mentioned, as far as just focusing on our customers, all the things that we do with those values directed toward making our customers successful and making sure that they can realize the benefits in Anaplan, or using our values to really act as owners of Anaplan. Like also, most of our employees, if not all of our employees, are shareholders, right? So thinking about the company in certain ways and leveraging the values that we talked about to be able to influence that.
I like that, because I think there's a lot of values employees look at, and they're like, I don't know what to do based on that. It sounds like the behaviors are what you should do to actually go and live the values every day. Is that a good way to think about it?
Perfect.
Yeah. That's awesome.
You just
I'm ready. Put me in. Well, I kind of want to, because I heard a story, I alluded to this before, about some video you were shooting internally, and perhaps that you were Captain America and you even had a shield. I would love to have you tell the audience that story.
So, as I said before, the big part of our culture is having fun, right? It makes it a big special thing. So we tend to do different things to have fun, sometimes create little videos. We did a music video a while back. The one that you're referring to was Captain Anaplan. And we did a little skit of the executive team kind of rescuing a customer situation versus a competitor. And it was a lot of fun. Everybody, we dressed up in the costumes, we shot it, shared it at a company meeting, and we poked fun at ourselves. It's a big part of just relating to and showing empathy and humanity and so forth, which I think is important.
Well, as many people watching know, I'm a sucker for parody videos. I love doing videos, so that's super fun. And I'll have to get your Captain America shield at some point and use it myself. So we'll share that later. Let's talk about my favorite topic, customer success, because obviously that's my life. I have to talk about it every time I talk. So, I think Anaplan has done an amazing job of customer success in several ways. One is, your application can be used for lots of different use cases, from, financial planning, sales planning, many different marketing planning, et cetera. And so you have to drive those use cases. And then I think you also have this partner channel that helps implement Anaplan and make it successful in big companies. So you have to actually work with your partners as well. So maybe talk about those two things, how you drive this proliferation of your software, but also how you do it through partners as well.
So our software is a platform for the enterprise. And as you said, to do planning, not only in finance, but anywhere. And there's so much planning that goes on in order for companies to continue to do what they do. And so our software is designed where different models can be built around certain processes. And then those models can be connected and aligned across the enterprise, so you have an end-to-end process connecting point. And so what we do with our customers is we make the platform available for them. They can choose to build models on their own, or we work with partners on their behalf to build models and help with some of the process re-engineering or engineering around what needs to be done, the building of the models, and then the support of those models. And a big part of those models, which kind of ties into your overarching theme around the customer, is meant to drive value. And that's how we measure our success with customers. The planning that they're doing in Anaplan, is it driving value from the standpoint of improving their cost, improving their agility, all the things that they would have wanted to improve from when they started working with us, and how that's played out. We try to justify that upfront, and then we measure throughout the cycle with our customers, along with our partners. Are they achieving the value they set out to achieve, and what are we doing to make sure that that continues? And if not, what modifications do we want to make to improve that?
That's great. And, that's a good segue to, there's a lot of people who might watch this who are actually in the field of customer success. And I think they're always interested in what the CEO thinks the role of customer success is. As you probably know, talking to different CEOs, some companies' customer success is really customer support. Some companies, it's about adoption. How do you think about the role of your customer success team at Anaplan?
So, you mentioned a couple of things. I'd say it's a lot, it's many of those things. First, if I go back to the discussion we had about values and the behaviors, customer first is the foundation of what we do. Make sure not only just the go-to-market team, but everyone behind the go-to-market team is there to make sure that we're doing what we can to support the value that our customers expect from us. On the customer success team, it's extremely important. They're on the front line, really working with our customers, building these models, monitoring the value and the success that our customers get, aligning with our partners, ensuring that the experience is what is expected. And so we have various metrics around the adoption. Is the adoption, especially early on, where it needs to be? How do we help improve that? We have measures around customer success, certain criteria that we look at. We bring that back. We actually measure our customer success in an Anaplan model. That's
awesome. Yeah, right.
Which is great. And I think you and I talked about this a while back.
Yeah.
We have that dashboard that allows me to kind of look at every customer and red, yellow, green, and certain key indicators, so we can actually look and see what is happening and where we may need to put some more emphasis. And then, of course, with Gainsight, we've been a very happy customer of Gainsight. We use your product to bring a lot of that information together, make the metrics, drive a lot of the monitoring, and then also the feedback mechanism. So it's a constant, ongoing improvement.
That's really great. And I think the way you've tied Anaplan and Gainsight together is actually a really great use case for folks that are out there that have both those products or looking at them. One of the things I think that might be interesting for the audience is, you were a CFO before, so one of your big jobs before, and probably still to this day, is deciding what to spend money on and what not to spend money on. How do you think about the ROI of the customer success team in a company like Anaplan? How do you think about that vis-a-vis budgeting for CSMs versus budgeting for salespeople, marketing, et cetera? How do you think about putting money into CS?
Well, being that I would say customer first is clearly out there, it becomes a high priority because, one of the things that I always say, and even before I joined Anaplan, but I think it's even more relevant for Anaplan, is you've got to make sure that the value is not at the time you sign the deal, right? Yeah. The value comes beyond that. And so the support that you provide the customer beyond the initial sale is extremely critical. We sell a subscription, an annual subscription, a multi-year subscription. We have a very high retention rate, and that high retention rate is because of the support that we provide and then we make available. Another big part of an extension, I would say, of the customer success team is the community, and that feeds very much into that, where we bring together like skills, and that's community of Anaplanners, of partners, as well as customers, so they can learn from each other and do benchmarking. We just had an Anaplan live event about a week ago, where we brought our master Anaplanners together for several hours, sharing a lot of those experiences, and we got really very positive feedback. So being able to do that allows a further extension of the customer success in that community environment. So many things that we do. Gets a high priority. We want to make sure, of course, everyone says we never get enough funding, but so the team is listening. they'll probably say, oh, he says that, but we're not getting all, but we are growing. We're investing in customer success. We're investing in our go-to-market, and we're also investing in the platform with engineers and product folks as well.
And Frank, I don't think any of my team members think they get enough funding either. So Mr. Love's company there. Well, I'll close out with one final thing. So, you've had an incredible career. You've worked in kind of businesses in probably some of the older models, and then now in the cloud and all that stuff, right? It's been great. And there's this transition in how people think about leadership. So if you go back to that old, you probably remember that Milton Friedman had that famous thing about the only purpose of a business is to create shareholder value, right? And now we're talking about value for all stakeholders. How do you reconcile that? Was that wrong about shareholder value? Is it incomplete? How do you reconcile that?
I mean, shareholder value is still one of the critical elements, but it's not shareholder value that's tied to just the bottom line. I'm on some boards as well, and I think even investors right now are broadening their view. They know that diversity is as important as the bottom line because it affects the bottom line. They think about culture. I remember even before we went on our IPO, meeting with investors, I got quite a few investors that were very interested in understanding the culture. And some of the things I shared with you earlier, we talked to investors about because they know it's not just the bottom line, it's everything that goes into it. And I think even more so now, as we become much more of a collaborative, open environment, it's much more expected, as we said before. Employees expect it, customers expect it, and I think investors expect it. So it's continued to evolve, and I think it's evolved in a very positive way. But it's still, I look at the shareholder, I look at the customer, and I look at the people, right, that make up your company as the three constituents that you want to make sure that are given the appropriate attention from a leadership standpoint.
Well, Frank, thank you so much. This has been incredible. Anaplan's a true inspiration to us. We appreciate your business as a client and just the whole way you think about this end-to-end, and especially coming from a CFO background. I leave really inspired for what's to come for the future. So thanks to you. Thanks for being Human First CEO, and thanks for being Captain Anaplan. That sounds like a pretty cool role to have. Thanks to everyone for watching. We'll see you next time.